Tonight on the Best of Carson, that's Harry Anderson down on the floor with Johnny. It would take too long to explain. Plus comedian Argus Hamilton and Calvin Trillin. Doesn't say much, but what he does say is pretty good. And on Dave's show, well, Dave's just happy to have a show with guests Alan King, Marv Albert, and Michelle Schock. Tonight.
Why can't life be more predictable? Why can't we be immune to the nasty little surprises fate sends our way? Why can't everything be like AT&T long distance? And whenever you travel, remember that AT&T is the fastest, most reliable long distance service in the world. Choose anyone but AT&T.
AT&T.
And who knows what you'll get.
Lots of houses are built from memory. The best coffee in the world is out there. You just have to know where to find it. Hills Brothers goes all over the world to buy the best coffee beans. That's what makes Hills Brothers what it is. A world-class coffee. Some people think decaffeinated coffee is second class. Not Hills Brothers. They buy the best coffee beans from all over the world. Hills Brothers naturally decaffeinated isn't second class. It's world class.
1989 is the year of the young reader, but right now there is a shortage of books that children like most, the Bluebonnet Award books, chosen by Texas school children as being the best. But because so many kids want to read these, there's not enough for everyone. Beginning October 9th, Channel 5 will tell you how you can help out libraries in North Texas. Libraries are a place for everyone to learn, but if we encourage the imagination and reading skills of our children today, we can build a better tomorrow and a better Texas. Channel 5, building a better Texas.
It does appear that she has been dead for quite a few days.
It's kind of a horror story, and it's probably not going to happen.
We believe that the local taxpayers have taken about all they can take.
This is Texas News 5 with Alice Carone, Brad Wright, Scott Murray on sports, and Chief Meteorologist Harold Taft. And now, Texas News 5, the 10 o'clock report.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Topping our news at this hour, a rather bizarre story of rape and murder unraveling tonight in Oak Cliff.
A 28-year-old woman missing for more than a week has been found dead by a search party. Texas News 5's Marty Griffin has just returned from the scene. He's in our newsroom. Marty?
Alice, it's a rather incredible story as well. Just about an hour ago, a Dallas County Constable's Office search team found the body of Jelater Mayfield in a field just off of a roadway in South Oak Cliff. In a rather bizarre development, police took her boyfriend and her father, who were at the scene, in for questioning. Investigators want to know how both men knew where to look for the victim. More than 30 volunteers and police walked through heavy brush and thick woods looking for a body. A bloodhound was brought in to try and pick up a scent. From the air, police helicopters searched for anything unusual. They searched for Jelater Mayfield. The 28-year-old hasn't been seen for 11 days. 3 hours after the search began, a deputy constable found the body in a wide open field. The chief constable explained how it got here.
A lady was raped in the Redbird area approximately 11 days ago. She lived to tell the story. The same night, the lady that's laying here behind me now in the field, dead, was also missing. The paint on one car matched the paint on the other car, so apparently both vehicles was rammed. If that happened in this area, and if a suspect was raping women, he would have had to get rid of the body in the area.
Willie Brandon lived with the victim, called her his girlfriend, says he told police where to look for her, was angry they didn't look sooner. Now he's being questioned about the crime.
How do you react to the fact that even you yourself said that the police have tried to make you a suspect in this case?
Well, I feel in this situation, from my understanding, from talking to Constable Jernigan, we're all suspects. You know, when something like this had happened, and normally they start at home and go work out, but I don't know.
Family members and friends who helped look for the body watched in horror as police examined the crime scene, not knowing what to think, who to blame.
I'm extremely appalled at the manner and the way this crime was committed. This man is still on the loose. He is still bumping ladies' cars at night. When they get out, he approaches them at knife point and abducts them.
Police are right now continuing their interrogation of the father and the boyfriend, trying to sort this whole thing out. We should stress that neither of the men have been arrested. They have only been brought in for questioning. Fred Nelson.
Marty, there were a number of cases not that long ago about people getting bumped on area freeways and then robbed by the person who did the bumping. This sounds like a violent offshoot of that.
It is, Brad, and you remember that shook up a lot of folks in the past. It looks like this time somebody is ramming cars and raping women, and in this case, murdering somebody. Police, as they told us before, will tell folks again, if you're alone and you're rammed and you feel like it's very unusual, leave the scene. Make sure you're not being followed. Go to your nearest phone and call police immediately.
Okay. Marty Griffin from the newsroom. Thanks, Marty.
Sure.
Dallas police are advising parents not to panic over information that school-age children are getting LSD on school grounds. Police say thousands of people have received flyers like this one. The flyers warn parents a dangerous drug is being passed around at school. Police say they see these flyers in one form or another about this time every year. They say it is little more than an urban myth.
That people worry about their children and drugs and that they sit down and talk to them. Unfortunately, this is kind of a horror story, and it's probably not going to happen.
Captain Walt says parents should worry about crack cocaine and marijuana, which are readily available on campuses. As for LSD, he says police have seen very little in the Metroplex in recent years.
As of today, a drug test is more than likely in your future if you work for or want to work for the city of Dallas. Employees who show signs of drug or alcohol abuse may be required to undergo tests under a new program. That program includes training the city's supervisors to identify a potential abuser. Efforts to crack down on immigration violations are being contested by one local company that faces the biggest fine so far in Texas. We told you last week on Texas News 5 that the Pegasus Flight Center in Fort Worth may be fined $77,000 by the U.S. Border Patrol. The company allegedly had several undocumented workers in its ranks. The company tonight says those involved were actually students at the time of the alleged violation, not workers. Pegasus has not yet mentioned how it plans to respond to the allegations.
The first East German refugees cheered and wept with joy after finally arriving in West Germany today. 1,300 people who weeks ago had fled to Prague, Czechoslovakia, have reached the safety of the West German embassy. West Germany says its doors will remain open until East Germany decides to stop the exodus. And in Moscow today, Soviet citizens crowded the U.S. embassy. They want to flee Russia. Today, the embassy handed out 30,000 visa applications in 3.5 hours. They plan to have another 70,000 applications on hand tomorrow. They say they will print as many as 1 million applications if necessary. The U.S. Consul General expects 100,000 Soviets will enter the U.S. this year. That's twice last year's number.
Just ahead on the 10 o'clock report, the state Supreme Court's decision to make education in Texas equal for everyone.
The question is, who will wind up paying for it?
We believe that the local taxpayers have taken about all they can take.
We'll have more on the price of education equality when we come back.
Okay, here comes the commercial. Okay. Once upon a time, there was two pirates who had a captain. I already did that story. And there's gonna be an ending in a minute. Once upon a time, there was a widow. All you have to do is find more and more treasure. The pirates, of course. That's the end.
According to Christopher Houston, one way to plan for tomorrow is to look for buried treasure. We think an easier route is to look for First Gibraltar.
For 10 years, American Airlines has been based here, and our 21,000 local employees are working hard to keep us the best here. Best because we can offer you what no other airline can from DFW. The most destinations, 246 worldwide. The most flights, over 500 non-stops daily. The most international flights, 24 of them every day. The most discount fares to the most places. The best travel awards program, Advantage. And the best people in the business. American Airlines, based here, best here.
Today, the state Supreme Court made a landmark decision that will change the face of education in Texas. The decision clearly supports the right to a quality education for every child in the state. It is unclear, though, how that education will be paid for or who will pay for it. One thing is certain, it means some form of tax increase. Hence, some form of protest from a lot of parents who have school-aged children. We have two reports tonight, beginning with Texas News 5's Marion Connor.
It's going to have more time. Poorer school districts like Burleson, Alvarado, and Venus will benefit, while richer school districts like Plano, Arlington, and Dallas could suffer. The Texas Supreme Court ruled today the way the state funds public education is unconstitutional. Wealthier school districts can offer advanced classes and great facilities. Many poorer school districts cannot offer basic lab classes, much less extracurricular activities like football or band. Texas schools are financed by a combination of property taxes and state aid.
Traditionally, rich school districts have had low property taxes, and poor districts have had high property taxes and have been unable to raise sufficient funds to provide an adequate education for their children.
For example, in Dallas County, Highland Park ISD taxed at 35 cents per $100 of assessed property value, which produces almost $5,000 for each student in the district. Meanwhile, the tax rate for the Wilmer Hutchins ISD is 3 times higher, and yet it only produces $3,500 for each student in that district. The state legislature will have to have a special session to come up with a new payment plan. No matter what they decide, it will mean higher taxes. If the state takes from the rich to give to the poor, the wealthier school districts will have to raise property taxes to make up the difference in the lost revenue. Another possible solution is for the legislature to raise state taxes to come up with more money for the poorer districts. 50 years ago, Senator A.M. Aiken said that each and every child, whether born in an oil patch or a cotton patch, should have an equal opportunity for a quality education. Today's ruling by the state Supreme Court should help make that happen. Marion Connor, Texas News 5.
But that won't happen easily. The state controller estimates it'll take $2 billion new dollars to revamp the system.
Just how the state legislature decides to raise that money will be the big question. And Texas News 5's Mike Snyder joins us now with that story. Mike.
Alice, this school financing issue has uncovered what may be a cruel joke. While the tax rate in Texas is the 48th lowest in this nation, property taxes, which pay for the schools, are the 14th highest in the nation. And some small school districts just can't afford the price.
5th grade today is the last day that Westminster school system will stay open.
In the shadow of the mighty North Dallas suburban school districts, the tiny town of Westminster threw in the towel last June, closed down its school district. It couldn't afford to raise property taxes enough to pay for the education reforms required by the state legislature.
I think it's a shame. Well, I'm bitter, of course.
The final bell for Westminster is a prime example of what the Texas Supreme Court claims is wrong with the state's school financing system. In the court's opinion, the amount of money spent on a student's education has a real and meaningful impact on the educational opportunity offered that student. In well-heeled Highland Park, students not only have nice buildings, but all of the labs, libraries, and college prep courses they want. In comparison, nearby poor school districts offer tattered books, dilapidated buildings. Few have labs, calculus classes, or college prep. Now, the wealthier school districts face the real prospect of either cutting back on their programs or raising property taxes again.
The local taxpayers have taken about all they can take.
Gordon Rourke has taken the heat as DeSoto School Board president for raising taxes more than 21% last year and 12% this year. He suggests that property taxpayers have done all they can, and that it is now time the legislature bites the bullet and passes a new statewide tax.
And the surveys that some of our state associations have done throughout the state have shown that taxpayers are willing to pay higher taxes for public education.
Now, Rourke claims that that means higher sales tax or some use tax, not an income tax. There is one scary element to this share of the wealth movement among school districts. Rourke thinks if the legislature fails to pass new taxes, it will be the beginning of consolidating Texas school districts, and that could mean 4 or 5 mega school districts, and that would mean the loss of local control of your schools.
You know, we'll be hearing lots more about this story.
Plenty.
Thank you, Mike. Still ahead, he was under the Giants' gun yesterday and under a surgeon's scalpel today. Scott will update Troy Aikman's condition when we come back.
And the Rangers' Nolan Ryan decides to take the mound for another season.
I expect if I pitch the entire season as I did this year that I should win 300 games.
Sports news up next. Don't go away.
If you think the State Fair of Texas is fun during the day, it's hog heaven at night with lasers, flag parades, and lots more. Bravo! Pig out on fun foods, ham it up our fun rides, and go hog wild at our aerial circus. It doesn't take much bacon, so bring the whole family. Nighttime at the State Fair of Texas. It's a whole different animal.
Coming up later on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, Harry Anderson shows Johnny some real sleight of hand.
Oh, is that all there is to it?
Then it's comedian Argus Hamilton.
Not like George Bush, because George Bush says he hears the quiet voices no one else ever hears. So did Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
And satirist Calvin Trillin.
I always look on these things the way a dentist looks on tooth decay. You know, it's a pity, but where would business be without it?
Coming up later tonight.
Texas American Bridge Bank is changing. We now have $5 billion in assets. We're now the largest Texas-run bank in Texas. In fact, the only thing that's smaller is our name.
Tonight's sports is sponsored in part by Federal Express.
Nolan Ryan made a popular decision today.
Nolan Ryan coming back, but I guess when you're guaranteed $1.4 million and it's waiting there for you, you kind of say, well, all
Makes the decision
right.
a little easier, I know.
What the heck? Was it a toughie? Yeah, it was a real toughie. I'd make that decision in about 2 seconds. Most people expected he'd be back, but until he made it official this morning, nobody, as far as the future of Nolan Ryan and the Texas Rangers was concerned, was really breathing that easily. And then this afternoon, the Rangers announced they would not, and I repeat, not exercise the option on yet another veteran pitcher, Charlie Huff. However, the Rangers do hope to work something out, so Huff will be back as well next year. Al Wallace has both stories tonight.
With the 1989 baseball season just hours behind them, the Rangers started settling in for the winter. This team that finished 4 games above 500 now gets 4 months off.
If you can't get him to do that, you're going to come up, we're going to go fishing anyway. Yeah. Right?
Hey, I got some canned tuna here if you want it. You may need it tonight. Plan on eating fish.
Like 21 other baseball teams, the Rangers will spend October watching baseball and not playing baseball. In this case, a good team should have been better.
Consistency across the board is what we have to do. We showed flashes of what we're capable of doing. We just have to do it a little bit more often.
I felt like at All-Star break we were in an awfully good position to make a race out of it, and our second half was disappointing.
Up until 6 weeks ago, Nolan Ryan thought the 1989 baseball season would be his last. But after he recorded career strikeout number 5,000, and the closer he got to career win number 300, he began to change his mind.
It didn't really come down to whether I thought we were going to be a winner next year. I just feel that the type of organization that they are, they've committed themselves to them.
One thing the Rangers aren't committed to is pitcher Charlie Huff. They want Huff back, but not under the present terms.
We've made the decision to have him back based on his pitching ability. Now it's a matter of getting together based on the language in the contract.
The ball club now, for the 18th time, has failed to make it to postseason play. They also, once again, have plenty of time to ponder the reasons why. Al Wallace, Texas News 5.
Elsewhere in baseball, the respective league championship series begin this week. Toronto at Oakland in the American League tomorrow night. Then it's San Francisco at Chicago at Wrigley Field in the National League on Wednesday night. And those matchups are the subject of tonight's commentary from Drew Pearson.
As another season ends for the Texas Rangers, Metroplex baseball fans find themselves once again deprived of being a part of baseball's most exciting time of the year. This is a time of year where baseball comes to the forefront of the sports world, where the games become more exciting than college or NFL football. But why should we be deprived? Why don't we adopt a team to pull for throughout the championship series and right on through the World Series? The question is, whom do we choose as our adopted team? Well, through the process of elimination, we find Toronto too emotionally drained by just making it this far, so they're out. The Cubs are the sentimental favorite, but not the logical choice, so they're out. Oakland would put too much pressure on themselves after blowing the World Series last year, so they're out. So that leaves us with the San Francisco Giants, who have been a model of consistency all year long. So let's pull for the Giants to win it all this year. At least Metroplex baseball fans will know how to react just in case the Rangers ever win a pennant. I'm Drew Pearson.
This was the year of the Cubs. Remember that, the Cubs. Right?
Cubs win. Cubs
It was a
win.
day of practice for the Cowboys and a chance for coaches and players alike to try and regroup, figure out what it'll take to get that first win of the year. Looking ahead, that won't be easy. The Packers are next on the schedule in Green Bay. And what a year they've had. They've started every game this season like they're half asleep, but they've played like a team possessed in the second half. It's been unreal. Tom Murray has the story.
The bulletin board at Valley Ranch is brimming with Packer facts, and they are daunting. Yesterday against the Falcons, Green Bay scored 17 fourth-quarter points and came back to win 23-21. It was the second come-from-behind win for the Pack this season. They are 2-2, and they've outscored their opponents 90-23 in the second half of their games.
Packers could be 4-0 right now, and I mean, they're playing good football.
The Cowboys, of course, are not. They're one of only 2 winless teams in the NFL, trying desperately to stop their skid to the bottom of the barrel.
We're trying to get better, no matter whether we're in the game or we're out of the game. We're trying to get better. We're working, and we're trying to, work on different things and see just where we can find something that's going to work for us.
It's no fun coming in Monday morning and losing like we did, and to kind of motivate yourself through the week. But you got to fight through the. I don't want to say feeling sorry for yourself,
But it's only human. The Cowboys still don't know what it feels like to win. On Sunday, they play a team that seemingly doesn't know how to lose. Tom Murray, Texas News 5.
That's it for now. We'll see you tomorrow at 5 and 6. Thanks, Scott. All right.
Well, these are wonderful times for meteorologists because they're heroes every day the sun shines.
And our resident hero, Harold Taft, will check in from the Weather Center with any changes that may be in the offing in just a moment.
Customers keep asking us,
are we going to be different?
changed? You know, like aliens.
I mean, from another planet?
Still Texan. Well, I always say.
We have a new name.
Our name's changed.
Then I say we're going to be stronger.
We're stronger. Yeah. More confident.
Confident.
Happy as all get out. Because nobody
Nobody I know.
I mean nobody.
Not one.
Is going to work harder for you.
In this package is over 40 years of experience in overseas shipping and access to more air routes worldwide. Because Flying Tigers has changed its stripes and merged with Federal Express to form the largest all-cargo airline in the world.
There are 2 ways to make a Volkswagen go fast. The other way is to make a new Volkswagen. Introducing Corrado, the new European-designed, supercharged, intercooled, 140-mile-per-hour Volkswagen. It's time to think about Volkswagen again.
Well, the thing we're kind of watching right now is to see what direction is the wind blowing. And it's still out of the south, although at Beecham Field it shifted around into the east a bit. We've got a little weak front just trying to push on down across our area. But as you can see, we're still blowing out of the south. Remember, the wind direction is quoted and given and reported as the direction from which the wind is blowing. So a south wind means blowing from the south. Now, we expect it to see it kind of shift on around into northeast, but when it does, it'll be very, very light. Well, let's put our temperature up there in the corner or someplace if we can. 77 degrees right now on our thermometer. We started out today with a reading of 62. Got up to 97. Now, that didn't set a record. It would have had to have hit the 99 mark to do that. It didn't quite do it. Normally, we'd expect 85 degrees to be the high at this time of the year, and a year ago today, it was closer to that, 75. All right, here are the high temperatures, some of them around over the country today, 97 here in our area, and there were a number of record high temperatures around over the country, but notice Phoenix didn't make the 100 degrees tonight or today, and there's Miami with 94 and temperatures in the 70s and 80s along the East Coast, except up in the North Atlantic where they're a little bit lower, Boston 65. And of course cooler air up there at the north where this cloud bank is associated. And we've still got some cloudiness down here in this section of the Pacific. There's the old storm Raymond, I believe the name of it over there. And we've got a front pushing down across North Texas and across the central part of the country, but it just simply has no cloudiness associated with it. And, well, we say no weather because we mean there's no clouds and no precipitation. But I'll show you on the Texas analysis here. It has almost pushed through Fort Worth and Dallas. It has pushed through Meacham. It'll come on down a little bit further, but it's not going to make any great big difference in the temperature, maybe 10 degrees, but that'll be quite a bit. After all, it was 97 today. But these are current readings now as we're looking at them at 10 o'clock. Look at the difference between Meacham and Dallas Love. 79 Meacham, 85 Dallas Love. Dallas still has a south wind, as we do here, and they have a very light east wind at Meacham Field. But it's down to 55 up in the Panhandle, but unfortunately, that air is not coming in our direction. We're getting the air coming from over into this region and being mixed with this air coming up, and it's just not going to change that much. Here's the map and the analysis as of 10 o'clock tonight. That front strung out all across the country and on down, just playing peekaboo with us down here. This will move off to the southeast and should wind up over here over the southern Great Lakes, and that'll let this front push down in this direction, but kind of hold it back right in through here because we've got this little storm developing. And there's something else on here. This may interest a lot of you. Here's an upper level disturbance developing and moving inland. This will continue to push on, and by the time it gets over here in the central part of the country, which should be about Thursday, we may see a change in our weather. Well, that's going to be needed. Remember, after all, during the month of October, we should have 6 days of rainfall, and we haven't had any and don't have much prospects until this becomes a little closer to us. Well, we put some temperatures on there. These are current readings as of 10 o'clock, and we're looking at temperatures a little bit cooler up through the central part of the country. It's snowing up here in western Montana, and there's 33 up in North Dakota and 39 up at Sault Ste. Marie. It's in the 60s and 70s along the east coast and through the central portions of the south, and there's 49 at Chicago. Now, in the morning, we think it'll be fairly clear here. Temperature will be in the low to middle 60s, and the winds will be light to east and northeast by afternoon. 85 to 87, down about 10 degrees from what it was yesterday, and the winds will be light easterly. We don't expect any rain. Matter of fact, we don't even look for any cloudiness until Wednesday. But, well, we'll look at that in a moment. Let's take a quick look outside, though. It's clear. The wind is still out of the southeast, and it's about 10 miles an hour. The barometer, we're looking at 30 inches even. It's steady. The temperature is 77 degrees, the humidity 58%, and we've had no precipitation, and there's nothing on the radar. So on the forecast, we'll call for temperatures to get up about 87 tomorrow. Generally clear, kind of light winds. Pretty nice day, really. And then on Wednesday, a little increase in cloudiness, temperatures middle 80s, winds coming back into southeast, and getting ready for a change, I think, as we come toward the end of the week.
Okay, great. Thanks, Harold.
Sure.
Well, still to come tonight, there is encouraging news regarding the survivability of an often deadly form of cancer.
Due to 2 new drugs we'll be telling you about when the Texas News 5 10 o'clock report continues.